Alright, hey, what's up, boys? I got another video for you. This one's a banger of a video. You have to stick around for this. This is going to be going over the PTR, pretty much the testing realm changes, the patch notes for Wrath of the Lich King. The brand new ICC is getting released on the PTR. Everybody's testing it right now. I'm going to go over the patch notes to explain the differences between the original vanilla Wrath experience that you can experience on, like, say, private servers like Warmane and stuff, and back in 2009 when Blizzard had released it, and the differences in that versus what's going to happen on classic Wrath of the Lich King. So I know a lot of you guys who are my subscribers are balancing between playing on Warmane and playing on the classic Wrath servers, and you're wondering, should I go back and do ICC here? And after looking at the notes, I would say yes. Like it's going to be significant changes and differences, and it's probably going to be a lot more fun. Anyways, let's kick off into it. So in addition, we have other features which will become available soon, others that will be tested. So they're doing a lot of testing, but ICC right here, it'll have the first four bosses in the lower spire leading into Sarfang. Then you got the three bosses leading to Professor Putricide and the Plague Works, Blood Prince Council, and Blood Queen Lanathel in the Crimson Halls. You have Elithria Dreamwalker and Sindragosa in the Frostwing Halls, and then Arthas Menethil, the Lich King. Each wing will be fully unlocked for testing on both normal and heroic mode, so you don't need to clear the raid to be able to test it on heroic. Additionally, the similar to Trial of Grand Crusader, heroic mode on ICC has a finite number of attempts. When a group runs out of attempts, they'll be forced to flee and will not be able to engage in any additional attempts for that week. Currently, this number is set to 50, matching the final state. So it's at 50. You don't have to worry. Is it going to be like 8 or 5 or 10 or 20? Something like no, nothing like that. Additionally, there's no restrictions or gating preventing you from accessing another wing. So, like, just like you only were able to do the first four bosses, and then, like, Plague Works, and then Blood Prince Council, and Blood Queen, and then, you could do it all at the entrance. Like, not at the entrance, but at the start. So that's good. That's actually very nice. For the first round of PTR, they didn't update the thing, so if you guys are waiting a bit to test it out, it's not a bad thing. They do want you to copy and paste your characters from the live realms before you start testing it, so they can get an understanding of how the raids are going to go at the start when they do release it. Now, Shadowmourne. This one's huge, guys. Pay attention. So this one is massive. First off, the Shadowmourne quest is going to be available to everybody, not just a guild leader or an officer or something of a top guild. Everybody's going to be able to do Shadowmourne because it's super available. Now, this is going to devalue the legendary status of a legendary. I do agree. I was also a little salty on how they devalued Valimir, but in my opinion, everybody should be allowed to get a legendary when legendaries are current content. I don't think you're paying $15 for a sub, you shouldn't be able to get it unless you do some guild politics and stuff. I think it's silly. So I think these are good changes in my opinion. A little salty that everybody gets a legendary because if everybody's special then nobody's special kind of thing, but I mean we can argue about that day and night. That's a different topic. But so far Shadowfrost shards will no longer require somebody be on the Splintered Throne, so you don't have to be on the final quest. By the way, if you have not seen my Shadowmourne guide, I have a Shadowmourne guide that covers the entire quest line, everything. Very good guide. Put a lot of effort into that. You can see it at the top right of the screen right here, I think. I'll try to include the card. It's one of my last videos, so you can also check it out on my channel. But yeah, so you don't have to be on the Splintered Throne. You don't need to do all 3 infusion quests to be able to collect shards. So that's actually really good for speeding up the collection rate of shards. The drop rate of shards on 25 normal and heroic are the same. So you will have heroic drop rates on both normal and heroic. So you don't need to clear all the bosses on heroic to be able to get the shards. You don't need to get mad at your guild for not being able to clear heroic content. It's okay if you can't do, most guilds will be struggling with 12 out of 12 8 heroic and then moving on from there. So it'll be Lady Death Whisper, Professor Putricide, Sendragosa, and the Lich King. Those are the four big bosses for progressing heroic. The other bosses are quite easy and are puggable. So getting past those four bosses is difficult, and that's why a lot of guilds might get mad on, like, say, Warmane. You're not able to do the bosses on heroic. You're losing out on quite a bit of Shadowfrost shards on Warmane, but on retail, like on classic, you're going to be able to get the same amount of shards as you would on normal and heroic. The end bosses of each wing: Sarfang, Blood Queen Lonethel, Putricide, Sendragosa, the Lich King. All five of these bosses, you know how the Lich King drops a guaranteed shard? Now each of these bosses will drop a guaranteed shard on both 25 normal and heroic. This is going to make pugs a lot easier to farm shards for. It's gonna make farming Shadowmourne much quicker too, because you're gonna get a shard on Sarfang, you're gonna get a shard on Lonethel, Putricide, Cindy, Lich King. Uh, all of these bosses are gonna drop a shard. And side note, I'm not 100% certain if this is a shard guaranteed to drop, like the Lich King, that is side by side next to another shard that you can drop. So something that used to be possible is you could drop a shard on the Lich King as like the guaranteed drop, but then he could also drop the RNG drop for two total shards. Now, if two shards can drop off of these bosses, that means you'll have heroic mode boss drops. So you'll have a high chance to drop a shard off of all 12 bosses. Plus, you'll get 5 guaranteed shards. So if that's true, that means you could be getting up to 17 shards in a single raid, which, I mean, obviously is super lucky, but yeah, getting 5 shards guaranteed, that's enough to, like I'm getting 5 shards on Warmane right now. I'm getting 5 shards pretty much every raid if I'm lucky. And I'm happy getting Shadowmourne in 2.5 months. So getting 5 shards guaranteed every single week means like the longest you have to wait for a Shadowmourne is 2.5 months, and that's without any luck. But with some luck, you'll get like up to 10 shards in a week. Like Shadowmourne, they say it's gonna take. Let me see. Yeah, they say it's gonna take 8 to 10 weeks, but I'm looking at like 5 to 7 weeks in reality, with even some half mediocre luck, because you're getting a guaranteed 5 shards. And then, I mean, even with mediocre luck, because it's heroic drop rates, it should be like an average of 3 shards every raid, maybe. So an average of 3 shards every raid will put you at 8 shards total. And then at 8 shards total, that's 6 weeks, 48 shards. So you'll have your Shadowmourne in 7 weeks. So yeah, 5 to 7 weeks. Primordial Serenite, so primos, they'll be purchasable from both the Emblem of Frost vendor as well as the new currency gained in Titan Rune dungeons, Gamma Protocol stuff. So the heroic mythic dungeons, whatever. I don't like going Titan Rune dungeon, Gamma Protocol dungeons. I call this shit mythic dungeons. Let's be real. Um, we'll be sharing information about this and its rewards. But long story short, primos are going to be purchasable with the Mythic Dungeon currency and Frost emblems. You're going to be using your Frost emblems for tier 9. You should use your Frost emblems on characters you don't plan on raiding with. You should use it on Primordial Serenites to save money, but most of the Primordial Serenites are probably going to get funneled into the guys getting Shadow's Edge at the start of the content, and then Shadowmourne further into it. The new dungeons, Foz, Paz, and Horror. Uh, so if you aren't aware, the Forge of Souls, Pit of Sauron, and Halls of Reflection are going to be available. Um, yeah, the heroic version of the dungeons, like it's gonna have the additional rewards from Mythic. So they have the Mythic version, but it's not gonna change the difficulty. It's just gonna up the reward. So you can do these dungeons on heroic for gear and on Mythic for gear. And I think that's actually really good to be able to get the 232 gear from this 219 gear. So if you're fresh level 80, you're doing fresh level 80 content, and you want to catch up your gear on like Wrath of Lich King and get ICC, Foz, Paz, Hor. So Forge of Souls, Foz, Pit of Sauron, Paz, and Hor, Halls of Reflection. These three dungeons drop 219 item level gear on normal. This is the best catch up gear you can get anywhere. You don't need to do raids. You can just do this on normal, farm out all your gear. I have a Discord that should be in the top right of the screen that I'll include the Discord link. But I have a Discord that shows the pre-raid BIS gear. So like doing dungeons and whatnot, I have a Discord with all the gear information and Wrath information that you could possibly need. But doing this will help you catch up on gear. You do these three dungeons, you do them on Heroic 232 gear, and then the Mythic versions, the Titan Rune version will be 245 item level, right? So you'll be able to get a ton of good gear from this. New collection user interface. This is also massive. So you know, like in Cataclysm, they have the the heirloom system where you could just pull your heirlooms wherever. So you don't have to like put them in your bank and go here. You oh, I forgot my heirlooms. Oh, this that. No. So they'll have a single tab you can click to grab all your heirlooms and everything, and you don't have to worry about it. You can buy whatever heirlooms you want, and it'll be updated in your tab collection. This is a very good change for people so they don't stack up multiple heirlooms. Um, Also, I think this is helpful when you're like doing leveling. Say you're leveling two warriors or two paladins, or actually a paladin and a warrior, and you have the same heirlooms. I think you could use the same heirlooms on two different characters instead of having to constantly send your stuff to the warrior, send your stuff back to the paladin, send your stuff back to you don't have to shuffle your heirlooms. You just go with it. Class adjustments: hunters get to shoot their traps, so you'll be able to shoot your traps from range. You don't need to run into melee range to drop your traps anymore. It's not usable in PvP arenas or battlegrounds, so it's not a PvP thing, but you can do this in raids. It saves you a lot of grief. uh, Druid, shamans, and priests, wild growth, circle of healing, ancestral healing, and divine hymn. These will prioritize players instead of pets and guardians, because if you hadn't noticed, these smart heals will just keep healing pets that are low on health, and like it's kind of a big pain in the neck. Warlocks, so the internal cooldown of demonic pact was reduced from 5 to 1. And demonic pact will always be 10% of the warlock spell power. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad change, so I think based on this right here, it should be a good change. But optimal gameplay for Demonology Warlock is currently waiting time to send their pets in until trinkets proc and other spell power increasing procs occur to prevent the locking yourself out of a higher snapshot. So long story short, you send your pet in 5 seconds after hitting the boss. So you hit the boss, you get all your trinkets and everything to proc, send your pet in, he crits, does like 15k damage, you get like 20, like a 2000 spell power buff for 45 seconds, and you keep your pet out of combat after that. And then your entire raid benefits from a massive spell power increase. But long story short, they reduced it to make it smoother. It should be smoother. The minimum amount is 10%, so it's 10% of the warlock. So I hope this is a minimum amount, and it's not gonna permanently like nerf warlocks. So demonology warlocks, demo locks are not gonna be nerfed in my opinion based on these PTR notes. Summon Infernal's cooldown will not reset on encounter end events, similar to other long cooldowns. So you can summon your infernal cooldown every single boss. You don't have to go between the next bosses. Side note: if anyone's watching from Warmain, you don't have to wait for Bloodlust in between every boss. You just Bloodlust on every boss, and it's not a problem. So you can just smoothly pull every boss in ICC, chain pulling without a problem. And I'm not even sure like if it resets between bosses, so you can like Bloodlust on trash. But overall, like classic is much smoother in terms of rating than it is on Warmane. Warmane is clunky and kind of poo poo. So I would recommend giving Classic a try. Um, there's a few bugs and whatnot here, like uh, you need to clear the PP trap twice. Um, Visual problems and whatnot, but I mean, most of it is inconsequential. So that's the PTR, like the PTR notes, the updates and everything for Wrath Classic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you a lot of information that you were in need of, and I hope you guys valued my opinion. Anyways, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, go check out my channel. I have a lot of videos with Wrath content, vanilla Wrath specifically, made from Warmane and other servers. But I definitely look forward to playing on Classic as well. So if you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.